Now we're moving to our fireside chat inside the AI Journey session. And to lead this, I'm handing it off to our very own Mihei An, VP of Marketing at ProServeIT. She's hosting the customer fireside chat with two fantastic leaders, Mike Prime from Right to Play and Frank Lombardo from March of Dimes. They're going to get real about the AI wins, their hurdles, and their vision for the future. Mihei, please take it away.
Thank you, Cassandra. Hello, everyone can hear me. We good? Audio good? Video good? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Yeah, Empower, as you heard from Cassandra in the beginning of the event, it is very, very close to our heart. It has been many years since 2020. We are proud to host this event. Yeah, there we go. There.
It came back.
Yes, okay, thank you. Yes, so since 2020, we have been doing this. We love supporting nonprofit community. Before this session started, I had a pleasure of having casual chat with Frank and Mike. One of the many things that they shared with me during the chat is how proud and happy they are every day going to work because they can stand behind what their organization is standing for, the cause their organization supports. And ProServeIT, by extension, many of our customers are nonprofits and charities. And so by extension, we are so proud and happy to be in the business that we are in, to be able to support nonprofits who support our community. So without further ado, would love to start with introduction, please. Mike and Frank, I will have Mike to you. Please introduce yourself briefly, who you are, where you work, and a little bit about your day-to-day and where you are with your AI journey.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Mike Prime. I'm the Vice President of IT at Right to Play. Our mission is to protect, empower, and educate children through the power of play. We're in about 19 countries, mostly in Africa and the Middle East. And I've been in IT for 25 plus years. It's really great working at Right to Play because we get to make an impact in the world. AI, we started our AI journey about two years ago. We started by focusing on governance, and now we're in the implementation phase. So we're really looking at areas like our program impact. How can we use AI to monitor and evaluate the effects of our programs, and fundraising as well? Like, how can we use these tools to increase our fundraising revenue? So that's really two things that we're focusing on right now. But it's great to be here today to talk about AI. Hand over to Frank.
Thanks, Mike. Hi, everyone. Frank Lombardo. I am 9 weeks into my new role at the March of Dimes Canada as VP of IT and Digital Innovation. It's an exciting time for me as I look to support that organization in all of what it does, really to build out the future for them. And I think that's what enticed me to the role, as it were, is that sort of building mentality. How are we going to build for the future? It's a rather large nonprofit, probably with a brand that most people recognize the name, but not everybody knows what we do. And there's some great things coming that will sort of re-announce ourselves to Canada. So stay tuned for that. But prior to, similar to you, Mike, got about 25 plus years in IT and technology, starting from the service desk many moons ago, and here to now lead organizations through these digital transformations that everybody is sort of required to do today. So I'll touch a little bit upon, I think today, what I've done in the past 10 years with my time at the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, because there's a lot of great work done there. And our journey also began about 2-3 years ago, as did the journey for many of you, I think, when pilots of the world started to get announced and could see what they could do. And I have a unique position in that I've done a lot, and I'm about to do it again, and I'm hopefully going to do better than I did last time. And we're all going to go through that sort of iterative thing in our career. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you for joining, both of you. Mike, I remember the very first time that you and I met virtually, we first met, that was, about 2 years ago, I believe, maybe a little bit more than 2 years ago, when Copilot first became publicly available that organizations could purchase the licenses. Right to Play was one of the very first orgs to do that, and ProServeIT was one of the very first partners who was able to provide that access to organizations. So I interviewed you back then because you were the very first Canadian org who purchased when it became available at that moment. With AI, there are a lot of hesitations, at the same time, excitement. At some point, we have to start somewhere. So first question that I want to ask you, Mike, how did you arrive at that moment, that decision, okay, we want to be one of the first, let's go and try?
Sure, I think it was a bit of FOMO if I look back on it. You know, we had just heard about the technology being available. We had board members who were really excited and thought that we needed to use this tool, to improve our efficiency or productivity or our reach. And so we really were taking guidance from that. And some of my peers on the executive team were also suffering from FOMO, and they're like, we need to get this tool in here. And so I was like, hey, this is great. It's an exciting time to be alive. These are great, exciting new technologies. And so we decided that, we're a Microsoft first shop. So let's go check Copilot out. We started small, small pilot, and we worked with ProServeIT to get those tools in place. But I think that the motivation really was from fear of not getting this new technology in place. Reflecting back now, perhaps that was a little misplaced, but certainly it got us to where we are today, and I think we're in a better place. We've I think got past the FOMO. We know what we can and we can't do with AI now, at least today. I'm sure tomorrow it will change again. And so I think that that's what kind of brought us to that situation. We didn't want to be the first. In fact, we thought everybody else was going to be doing the same thing. So just by luck, we were early adopters, I guess.
I believe, based on what ProServeIT has seen so far, for sure, FOMO plays a role, but at the same time, without having concrete plan, taking one step at a time, whatever the small action that we can take to get started, that is as important as thinking about the plan. So those early adopters and early starters, I myself give a lot of applause because you need to start. And there's a lot of uncertainty around AI and life in general whenever life was certain, right? But embracing that uncertainty and being able to take one step at a time, I believe that is important. But that said, having a concrete plan is also important, as concrete as we can build and iterate from there. Frank, during our pre-event chat, we talked about having plan, right? Instead of spaghetti on the wall approach, you would like to see people and leaders thinking about more holistically, strategic way when it comes to AI. How did you start AI journey at your previous organization?
I think I want to qualify what I said earlier and what you said with it really depends. And I think that as IT leaders, we suffer a unique problem in that our A team, our other leaders want to do something new. They want to do something different. They recognize the value, and they may have that sort of FOMO when it comes to versus the other organizations. And then we have the people that we serve within the organization that are nervous about it and are going to take time to adapt. And as seasoned IT leaders, we should be able to recognize what fits the organization that we work for, because it's going to be different. If you're a smaller, more nimble organization, maybe you do one thing very well, you probably can get there a lot faster. When you're a larger organization that provides services to people, I mean, if we look at the CNIB and all the things that they do, from guide dogs to programs to social enterprise activities, I mean, that's a different animal altogether. And so I think that I don't think there's an answer to the approach. And I think that a lot of people did just sort of dive in and then, get out of the pool and say, oh, that was a little deeper and more turbulent than I thought it was going to be. And that's all okay. What I do think for all the leaders that are there with us today, that are here with us today, is that there are fundamentals that we have recognized over the years as we adopted personal computing and as we adopted the web and as we adopted the cloud and mobile. And the advantage we have today as we start to adopt AI is that we know what those fundamentals are. We didn't know what those fundamentals were early in the game when the web came out and we tripped over ourselves and we created security gaps and we invested in PCs and didn't necessarily see the return on that investment right away. We know the fundamentals. They're governance, training, risk. And if you evaluate those things independently of the technology, you're probably going to come up with a framework that works for your organization.
Thank you. And speaking of working with people inside of org, based on the risk tolerance and risk profile of our organization, we're all different, and culture is different. The profile of employees different. The type of work we do is different. When it comes to technology implementation, especially something like AI, people side of change, in addition to technology side of change, is quite important, right? So when you look back throughout the last 2 years or so of your AI journey, how did you approach that people side of things?
Yeah, good question. I think, it's another technology. AI is just another technology. And one of the most important things, and perhaps even more important with AI, is change management. So you have to follow the basics of change management with your staff. Otherwise, it's gonna destroy your culture. Will eat AI for breakfast if you don't do it right. And so you want to, one of the hallmarks of change management is communication. So you got to communicate often, you can communicate early. You also need to listen and hear what the concerns are of your staff. For example, this hadn't dawned on me, but a big thing that we heard from our staff was, hey, what about this, impact to the environment from these data centers running AI, like water use or energy use? We work in communities that have, water shortages. So should we really be using AI? So these are things that we hadn't considered in the beginning, that by listening to our staff, we took into account, and we've addressed that. We have guidelines on how you can reduce the consumption by prompt engineering. So that's one way of addressing it. But back to change management, you've got to do that communication. You got to do it often. We ran several sessions with all staff sessions. We provided training. There's a lot of great free available training on Microsoft Copilot out there. Provided that to our users. We have, in just 2 weeks, we have what we call a learning week, where we're going to have different sessions on different topics, and one of them is AI. So and even though we've been running with AI for 2 years, we really still communicate it, and we still provide the training, because training is the other part of building the trust in the tool. If you train the people how to use it, they use it, and they see that they can trust the results, or at least they know what they can take from the results, then they're going to be more able to accept that technology. I think that the other piece around AI is fear of losing your job. So everybody's like, is this thing going to take over my job? And so we, out of the gate, we're making it clear that this tool is here to not take over your job, but to empower you to do more with the days you have and the hours you have in the day. And so by freeing up the staff from doing mundane tasks, they're able to focus on more, mission-focused tasks. So, how can we make a bigger impact by not wasting time filling out, Excel spreadsheets, but actually working with the children? And so I think that was another element, like as long as they are hearing that this is not a tool that we're going to use to replace all our staff, then they kind of relax a bit. And then we provide training. Oh, now I know how to use the tool. Okay, maybe it's not so scary after all. And then again, keep communicating. So that's how we took it.
Thank you. FOBO, have you heard of that word?
FOBO?
Mm-hmm. Fear of being obsolete. So
That's a new one.
yeah, FOMO is there for sure still with AI, and now FOBO, speaking of fear of losing job and all, it being obsolete, that is very core to the human need. It is attacking, right? The sense of, so it
Might
is.
be of value in the future is, I think that's something we experience as we age, and now we're starting to experience it as we work. That's an interesting one.
Yes.
I have that every morning when I wake up.
And another thing that we talked about, Frank, during our pre-event chat was our young population coming out of universities and colleges, and now they think about their future, right, at job market and all. It is quite daunting for them with everything that is going on. But you made such a good point where, at least for now, where AI is, if you don't know the fundamentals of what it takes to do a job, AI will not be able to do the job without your input. So as long as you have your fundamentals and augment AI into your job to be more productive, to do more mission-driven work as opposed to admin work that nobody wants to do. What is your take on that, especially with as a parent as well, with kids growing?
Yeah, these times of major transformative change are going to be difficult for a number of different groups, and we sort of touched on those groups. We have those that have been in our organizations for decades, maybe closer to retirement, and to go to them and say, you're going to now learn AI. That's a hard sell, okay? And we have to be respectful, I think, of those groups. And those groups existed through all those other major transformations we talked about, right? So we got to leverage that. Then we have those in the middle, technically savvy, but still, they're probably not going to be the best at prompt engineering. They're not going to know how to. Have you ever seen the video of the school teacher that asks her class to tell her how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
And she does exactly what they say, and she's got peanut butter all over her body because they don't know how to explain the next step. That middle group is probably going to need to get better at that, right? And then you have the coming groups, the AI natives, and I don't even think that would be my teenage kids. They're somewhere at the tail end of that middle group. I think that there's this up and coming group that will be AI native. They're going to talk differently. I suspect they're going to be creative. I suspect that they're going to be articulate in issuing descriptive commands, right? So those will be the conciseness, be a skill set.
My 7-year-old, she uses AI every day.
Really?
Yeah, she does.
Is that cool or scary? I don't even know.
I don't know either. Yeah.
Right. So I think that, and we touched upon the whole. For momentarily, I said, when was the last time you saw must-have proficiency in Microsoft Office? I mean, it's just going to become part of what's expected. But I think today we have to have this. You have to have some experience, exposure, proficiency in how to prompt an AI. I think that's a skill set we should start adding to our resumes just to start to see where the gaps are and understand where the skill sets are as we move through time and through this transformation.
What would be one specific example that you can share when it comes to that change management and adoption that you have been going through? Specific example that might help our audience think about, oh yeah, that I want to go back to my office and try after this event. Do you have any particular example?
I kind of touched on them earlier. Different vehicles of communication. and adjust them to your audience. So we work in communities in Africa with children, and so we have offices in several African nations, and so there is a digital divide. The headquarters in Toronto or in the UK, there's more digitally native people that know how to use the basic Microsoft products, and they're maybe a little easier to learn, or it's easier for them to learn how to use AI. So you can't have the same message to them as you have to your country office staff, who don't have the same level of familiarity or experience with the tool. So if you try to drop AI on that group, just saying, here's AI, here's some simple instructions, jump on a call and we'll show you how to do a prompt. It needs to be more step by step and more baby steps for that group versus for groups where they're already using Microsoft tools day in, day out. A lot of country offices, they're not in front of a computer all day. So expecting them or trying to train them how to use AI the same way that you're somebody in accounting or somebody in fundraising is going to be different.
The analogy I tend to go to when I think about these things from a leadership perspective is really about shepherding the transformation. And to me, change management in the context of shepherding a group of individuals, is to give them boundaries, right? A safe environment, right? An understanding of the rules, and then allowing them to fail forward. All of these things, giving them access to resources, but you have to provide that level of thought leadership that will give them a place to go. I've told people before, I'm not a fan of open map video games. Red Dead Redemption, if anybody on the call, you can do anything in this video game. I can't stand them because I just end up accidentally doing something and now everybody's chasing me and I'm not having fun. I'm not enjoying this experience. Whereas I'm a big fan of Uncharted because it's an adventure and there's all sorts of things to explore, but you are guided to a place and a result. And I think that's what is fundamental to change management in this context, is we have an obligation to create the boundaries, to provide environments to feed or to learn or to, whatever you have to do. And then, go out there and do this and come back to us with your feedback. We surveyed a number of our staff, and this was an interesting exercise. How do you think AI can impact your job and make your job better? And if you have a cohort of 40 people in finance, and 2 of them come back saying, I really think I could do something great here. Well, guess you just found your champions, right? And now you're going to help those people lead their group, because it can't all come from me, right? And it can't all come from the CEO. It has to come from within. And then you start to get organic growth. Then you start to get real world success and applicability. And so that's sort of the mindset that I have. And again, depends on the organization, depends on the complexity, depends on the culture. All things Mike said was correct. I mean, you could be swimming upstream and you don't want to as an IT leader. You kind of want to build the raft and have everybody paddle at the same time.
Yes. The champions, for sure, we have seen and continue to emphasize the role that they can play, because to your point, Frank, it cannot be just up, down, comms, and enforcement all the time. One thing that we at ProServeIT is doing is hosting, Jamie, whom you all heard from, hosting a weekly basis AI corner. So on Friday, all hands meeting, but it is specifically about AI use cases, because everyone, whether you want it or not, in some capacity, people are dabbling into AI, using it for something. So we want to discover and uncover those and give employees spotlight where they can share. So it becomes part of our culture. One thing that we have been trying that's quite interesting, exciting, and we can see people getting excited. What has been your CEO's role with all things AI?
I'm between CEOs. I have a new CEO, And I think that there's an acknowledgement that whatever we do as March of Dimes Canada moving forward, this needs to be the consideration. I think that's an opportunity for us. So any organization that's facing a lot of transformation, in your executive teams, I encourage you to ask yourselves a question. On this precipice, do you want to do things the old way that's sort of safe and maybe going to be outdated in another year or two? Or do you want to take things on the new way? I think our organization, amidst the transformation, is very open to doing things the new way, because here we are investing in the future. There's a lot of money and time and resources going in to the things we want to do to modernize. Let's get on that journey. And the CEO, I'm fortunate, the CEO and the rest of the executive team, very eager to explore some of these things, and they're looking at me, which is exciting because I'm invigorated by the possibilities.
Similar story, we changed CEOs last year. And so my previous CEO retired. And so her involvement around AI was minimal. She had other things that she was focusing on to finish off her time there. But the new CEO, much more about data, analytics. And so we've kind of taken a bit of a deeper dive into data and analytics, which we probably should have done at the start versus just jumping in to the pool. And so her role really has been one of, making sure the organization understands the importance of gathering data quality, and having a central place for data, so a data warehouse. So we have a single source of truth, and then we can use AI, and the results we're going to get from AI are going to be better because we have better data in place. So she really has been championing that. We have to focus on the data. And it's not IT. IT is not. We shepherd the data in some way. We help with setting up the stores of the data, but ensuring the data is of high quality and is correct and is input in a proper way is the job of the individual business units. And so we're working now on stewardship with the individual business units on getting to a better place for their data input, and so that we can have this great data source that we can leverage with AI.
Data is something that we hear quite often these days, rightfully so, and encouraging to hear that many organizations and many leaders think about data with AI, because we have to think about data. So in addition to what, Mike, you shared, I will come back to you. Frank, what have you experimented and done so far? Well, I guess 9 weeks in the previous role, when it comes to data, whether accessibility of data, cleanup of data, security of data with AI.
I think data governance, as exciting as it is a very exciting topic. There's no exaggeration in my voice whatsoever. It's something that, similar to things like disaster recovery and business continuity, we're so busy just trying to do the job, to do the mission, that sometimes these things fall by the wayside. And early on, I was very much like, we have to do data governance. We have to get this, process governance has to be right, blah, blah, blah. And since then, going back about 2 years, I have been convinced by leaders in the industry that it doesn't have to be perfect, but you can't not have a clue. Okay, and AI can actually help you find your data, your data stores. I just did a wonderful webinar on Microsoft Purview, right? It can not only go into your Microsoft environment, but it can go into your other environments, help you classify that information, help you see the information. Most importantly, help you see and control. I mean, this is like DLP on AI, right? Show you how people are using it, prevent the exfiltration of that data. And so, less concerned with getting it perfect, more concerned with having visibility and a bit of basic understanding. The other thing that will contribute to not having to get it perfect is having good privacy and data use policies and making sure you're reinforcing those things. I mean, it's not that much different than telling people that how to manage PHI, and reinforcing those things. You're just sitting there saying those all still apply in the context of artificial intelligence. And so you're not going to get it perfect. People are always going to create duplicates, and there's always going to be opportunities to take data out of systems. But do you actually know what you've got? Do you have visibility into what it is so that you can train people on how to use and access that properly? So I no longer think that you have to get it perfect, but I think you have to have something in place that is going to give you, let you sleep at night, knowing that people have the right access to the right things. Because if you have access to the wrong things, your AIs will have access to the wrong things, and you potentially could do something.
Thank you. I think there are some questions going. Cassandra, can you please help us? We have how much more time? Yeah, less than 30 minutes. We have more questions that I love to ask you, but I think questions from the audience more important, I believe. Do you see maybe 2-3 questions that we can start with?
Sure. We have Christopher asking, how are you using AI to analyze your data? What tools are you using? Like, what data sources are you giving AI to analyze, and how are you getting AI to analyze it?
Yeah, so I was thinking about Purview, which is a relatively recent sort of offering. And I don't know a ton about it yet, but I look to ProServeIT to help you with that kind of work. But you should be able to send the AIs out into your Microsoft Fabric and say, what's what, help you classify it. And the fact that, like I said, it can go into other systems. You can have it trusted systems that it can go and evaluate that data. I think that's going to be great. If for those of you that have archaic, dumping grounds of file systems, that's going to be a big challenge. You should be able to throw AI at that, and if that doesn't exist today, I would really encourage somebody to create it, because I think it's on the minds of a lot of IT leaders, is what's in that dumping ground that is my network drive. So no, to answer the question that I see on the screen, it's not Copilot, but there are tools out there to do that, and those tools are worth investing in, I think.
It is such cliche thing to say at this point, but data is currency, right? Which how things are going, data is currency.
And risk.
And risk, it is both. Yes, Mike.
Yeah, so when we talk about data, there's data in the database. That's one thing, but then the other data that's more prevalent is what's in SharePoint, what's in OneDrive, what's in our emails, and so the way that we analyze that in our organization is using Copilot, the premium version of it, so it has access to all those things, and it uses your already existing security access to know what you have access to and what you don't, and so you can point the work version of Copilot, and it will be able to go through all that information and gather it. The problem is if you have stale data there in files, it could give you incorrect information. So the other side is the data in the database, and so we have embarked on an exercise to create a Microsoft Fabric environment, and then do ETL to get data into that. So we have a single source of truth. We're halfway. I shouldn't say halfway. We are maybe a quarter of a way down that journey, and then we'll start to use AI tools that will point towards it. At this point, we don't. We just use it pointing towards the files you have access to. We do have tools within, for example, our CRM is Microsoft, so it has Copilot built in. So the fundraisers have access to that because that's what they use for fundraising, and that is just looking at the data that they've collected on our donors.
What a boring and daunting task that Copilot can do, that AIs can do. And so if you want impact and you want to progress using this technology, I think that's an amazing use case to sit down and cut your teeth on. Because you're just analyzing stuff. You're not changing anything, right? You're not doing something entirely new. You're just saying, give me the information I don't have today so that I can start to make decisions. I think it's a good play.
Hope that
Awesome,
answers
thank
the
you.
question. Yes.
Yes, Emily asked, comment, tech isn't the hard part. Trust, skills, and change fatigue are. What's worked for you to bring frontline staff along without overwhelming them?
Frontline staff. Yeah. Without overwhelming them.
They're so busy, frontline staff. You have to carve out the time. And I touched on this. Organizations are so busy with the mission. The story I like to tell people, father had a successful business, and one of the things that made him successful is that every August it got so hot that they shut down and they improved themselves, right? So this is about continuous improvement. You have to carve out time to, in your day, in your planning, especially given the pace at which things change today, to say during these periods of time, and we've seen the success in system maintenance, software development, you have to carve out time to improve on the things you've done in the past. And so I strongly encourage leaders to sit there and say, what is the time you will allocate for these individuals to get better at a certain thing? It doesn't have to be AI, it can be any part of their job. If you're not budgeting for that time, and data is currency, time is currency.
Yeah.
Time is the most limited currency we have, right? And people are not currency, but they are, what's the word, a resource, right? You have to invest in time and people to improve things, otherwise it's never going to happen. Carve out the time, make it part of the work plan, give them what they need to do those things. They won't do it on their own.
I think you need a culture of learning and development. And so that's going to be different, challenging for some organizations, others not so much. I'm lucky that I work in a organization that we're all about education. Sure, it's education of children, but we take education as one of our fundamental goals in day-to-day work. So we have things like a 2-week period where we have training sessions. So we encourage staff, and this comes from the executive team, CEO, all the way down to management, is encouraging taking that time to do training, and it's recognized as not just something you need to do, but it's important to advancing in your role. And so I think because it's part of the culture of learning, that people are more willing to do it. Certainly it's not perfect, and it could be we could do more of it, but just having a buy-in across the board from all levels of management, I think makes it easier to accomplish. And so I think I would encourage other organizations, if learning and development is just something you put on your you put out there as something you should be doing, and you're not actually taking action on it, then you should start doing that. And it needs to come from the top, and it needs to be an understanding that you can free up the time to do learning and development. Because
that's the return on investment.
Yeah, because it's a huge return on investment.
That is time for time.
Yeah, if you don't take the time now, it's going to catch up with you later, right? And then your workforce now is completely outdated, and you're not competitive in whatever sector you might be in.
One step at a time, right? And one small thing, like few small things that we can have them try that can buy them time going forward, that their own success story will encourage them to try another thing and another thing. So instead of trying to boil the ocean, I'm sure Jamie went through the baseball analogy, base hit instead of home run. Let's aim for base hit to get on the base first. And from there, the little sense of achievement.
That's how the Jays did it last year. Right?
That's
something
close.
last year.
So close. Yes. And one thing that we have seen with our customers, speaking of bringing people along with us, creating moment. At the end, humans are motivated by feeling good, right? So create that moment of excitement we do provide the service of lunch and learn, for example. Yes, there are gazillion videos out there that people can go watch alone and learn, but like the sports game, when you watch it together with other people, always more fun.
Always more fun.
So learning together as a group, creating that moment of excitement together, learning moment together, that tend to show better outcome. More questions?
No more questions for the speakers, but if you, again, encouraging the audience, if you have any question, just drop down in the chat and then we can go, but Mihi, you can keep going for now.
Thank you very much. So speaking of that small wins, have you heard from any employees inside of your organization, a success story? Like, you know what, I tried this, it worked, I'm so excited, that type of story.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many of them. It is really rewarding to see that when your staff realize, like, it's almost like a light bulb goes off and this, wow, I can do so much with this that I had no idea. And so even simple things like, okay, I'm filling out a grant application for funding. You know, I can use previous documents, throw them into Copilot, you know, put the open-ended questions in there, and it will use previous answers to create new ones for the new grant. Now you want to validate that, obviously, but like that just saves you so much time. And then it's like, wow, okay. The other research is a great thing. You know, instead of going to different sources and trying to find everything, you know, Googling here, or, you know, going to resources that you typically use, you can use AI to help with that and gather that information. Again, with research, it's really important that you validate, you follow the links, and you make sure that what it's reporting is accurate. Sometimes it hallucinates. But you know, there's another example of like, oh wow, that just saved me so much time. And then the other one is I don't start from a blank page anymore. So when I can show somebody who usually just says, okay, let me open up Word, blank white page, and let me start typing, you know, you're now starting from a draft. Like AI can do a pretty good first draft of whatever you're trying to do, and then you go in and modify it. So it's saved you so much time, you know, starting from a blank page versus having a draft in front of you. So I've seen that a lot. Almost everybody, there were some exceptions, but almost everybody that I work with closely who I've introduced AI to in their workplace, or even outside of the workplace, when they see what they can do, it's exciting to see that look in their face.
Yeah, I think I think the lowest hanging fruit for the commercial AIs that are out there is productivity, for sure. Everybody started to realize how much we could do. I think what I found most inspiring, and this is just where I've been for the past over 10 years in the disability space, is what it can do from an accessibility perspective, and seeing people overcome barriers. And so those have been little moments of, hey, I couldn't access this easily before. And we talked about data, and we talked about Excel in our pre-chat, you know, just from an accessibility perspective. And being in accessibility, what I've started to realize is that a lot of the quick wins are coming from people being able to do things that either because of the way they think or their abilities in interfacing with technology, those barriers are starting to come down. And I don't mean that in maybe the common sense of disability, because we all have different abilities and different what's the word that I'm looking for? It escapes me now. But our aptitudes, or how we can go about something in the most successful way possible, AI is going to give us more of that. And so when I hear of people being able to access data, understand data better, access a system through a prompt instead of a keyboard and a mouse, which I also mentioned is like, might as well be on an abacus. And these are archaic tools that are, in my opinion, and my hope, actually are going to disappear in the coming decade and allow us to interface in a way that is bespoke to ourselves, not to what's pushed upon us. That's where I see the inspiring stuff happening. Yeah.
One of the events that we host many different events throughout the year. One of the recent ones that we hosted, one of the attendees asked the question of, so I have been observing people are a lot more open to use and experiment with AIs in their personal life versus professional life. There's a lot more resistance when it comes to use of AI at work. Why do you think that is? That was one of the questions that we got at the event. What is your take on that?
I think that it comes back to that fear of losing your job. And so I think that if you start using AI tools in the job, and then your boss might be saying, well, can you do more, or there's not enough work for you? I think there's that fear. So it comes back to fear. And in our personal lives, there's no fear. It's like you can use it for entertainment purposes. There's so many tools now, or you can use it just for gathering information. Like if I'm watching a show, I'll always want to, it'll dawn on me that I'll want to know something that I don't know. So I'll use AI to answer that question, right? And it's easy, and it's not dangerous. There's no risk. Right? I'm not going to get in trouble for potentially having, telling my partner the wrong thing that came up in AI. Whereas at work, if you don't do the due diligence around AI, you could put yourself in a bad situation. We've all seen the news headlines where companies, employees have used AI and it potentially gave the wrong answer. So there is that element of fear of, is this going to be right? Is the answer I'm going to get going to be right? Can I trust it? So trust is a big thing. I don't think that the trust is quite there yet. And then there's back to that old fear of being obsolete.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I mean, what are people doing personally with their AIs at the end of the day? Like I have these ingredients in my fridge, give me a recipe so I can cook something for my kids. A lot less risky than I want to do this analytics on my constituent database. Here's all the data you need, right? Trust is important. Microsoft has access and is indexed all of the data that we have. Salesforce has access to all of your donor data or all of your service member data. You've trusted it. And I think that people need to understand that piece. So again, going back to the shepherding analogy, here are the tools for these types of endeavors, right? Copilot, productivity, and I'm not saying this is the rule set, I'm saying this is examples. ChatGPT, general purpose, Agentforce, if you have a Salesforce shop, and it's tailored to that. Give them those boundaries. Give them, go to town on this because we know that your security access is correct. This is the trusted tool. Go ahead and do that. I think that's all that's really necessary, is to give them what they need to feel safe to do that. It took a long time for me to create a financial agent. I don't like dealing with spreadsheets. I think I've said that a few times in 2 hours that I'm not a spreadsheet fan, but I've come up with ways to create an agent that can help me run analytics on spend, on investment, on stuff like that. But I give it to it in such a way that it is anonymized and I have the right licenses so that I'm not training models, and hopefully the companies are being righteous about that. So we do have that a little bit less fear because the stuff we do personally is really within our own control. Whereas the stuff that we do professionally has impact on a lot of other people, potentially the company itself. And we have, as leadership, we have a responsibility to provide the guardrails, to provide the guidance, to provide the paths, and to provide the supports when things go wrong. Because things are going to go wrong. And if you blame the people, like we have cybersecurity programs. You do not approach a cybersecurity program by saying, if you get compromised, you're fired. I mean, nobody does that, because we've given them the supports and the education to learn. And then when something goes wrong, we recognize these are very sophisticated attacks. They're going to get worse with AI, right? So you have to think about it in the same sort of context. Here's your playground. Here's your rule set. Go give it a try. See what you can pull off.
What is, if you pick one thing that you are excited about AI this calendar year? We are at the end of January, so we have almost full year left. What is that thing?
One thing. Oh, that's a tough one. I think for us at Right to Play, it would be moving the ball forward on agents for our entire staff. So we talked a lot about productivity you can get within the Microsoft suite by using Copilot, and we've just started to dip our toe into the agent creation that we can roll it to all staff. And I think that we're getting different levels of adoption. Headquarters maybe is using the AI more than our country offices, for example, because for various reasons that we talked about, digital divide, et cetera, and just the type of job they do. But I think that if we're able to create an agent that works really well, especially around the monitoring and evaluation component, I think it's going to be, I think the organization will start to see the tremendous value in what, the old manual way of doing data crunching can now be done with this agent. And we're just starting that journey using Copilot Studio to create these agents. So I think that will be, to me, the most exciting thing to occur in 2026 would be to have a fully functional working agent that can help with our monitoring and evaluation.
Oh my gosh, that is exciting.
Fingers crossed.
I can't give you one. I'm going to give you 4.
Okay,
That's cheating.
let's go.
Maybe it is, but I was invited here, so I'm going to be that guest. I'm excited. Okay, first and foremost, because it's now an ingrained passion of mine, accessibility, breaking down barriers. AI in the next year, we're going to see more and more advancements on that. We've already seen a lot of that. We talked a little bit earlier about learning management systems, changing the way people learn. Content creation for learning is going to be amazing and fast, and I've seen this firsthand. I've seen it do its thing. Tutoring, the ability to have a tutor handy while you're going through the learning process and providing you learning, providing you the materials in a way that is best tuned to yourself. That's very exciting. I think that's going to enable workforces to do a lot more to stay in front. I'm particularly excited about, oh Jesus, there goes the fact that we're close to lunch and I'm starting to forget things. But it was after learning there were 2 more, and now that I'm laughing at myself in my head. So I'll probably stop it at those 2 things. Those are really exciting over the next year, I think.
Yeah, the whole personalization at a scale that AI can help us do. Okay, that is.
Yeah. Oh, that was it for the philanthropy teams out there. Engagement.
Yeah.
Engagement, right? So knowing your customer to this level that you just can't do from an individualistic basis. The ability to segment better, and the ability to really target people. That's not a nice word to use, but really, meet people where they want to be met and give them the information they need to help make the decisions that are going to benefit your organization. So engagement is another big one.
Thank you so much. Yeah, see, I told you 1 hour will go fast. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Hopefully it was helpful, relevant, and useful for all of you folks. Thank you for joining. And Cassandra, I'll pass the baton to you.
Thank you, Mihei, and thank you, Mike and Frank, for being so candid.